Okay, 4.2, trigonometric functions of acute angles. All right, the beginning of this section should be review. Let theta be an acute angle in the right triangle ABC. Now, when I teach geometry, I teach my students the magic word SOHCAHTOA. I don't know if you guys have learned that or if you guys learned some other way of memorizing these, but sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And if you remember, the hypotenuse is always the longest side. This should be a right angle. It looks a little bit cute, but imagine this was a right angle. Theta is one of the acute angles. The opposite side is the side that does not touch the angle. So if you notice, the hypotenuse and the adjacent side converge at the vertex of theta, but the opposite side does not touch that angle. And then the adjacent side is the shorter side that's attached to the angle. Okay, so these are the trig functions you learned in geometry. And I'm going to give you guys 3 more. You may have learned these before, but if you haven't, that's okay. These are the other 3 trig functions: cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. All right, let's do some examples. Find the 6 trig function values of the specified angle. So if this is my theta, 4 is my opposite side, 3 is my adjacent side, and 5, because it's the longest side, is my hypotenuse. Now, if you ever have a triangle where you can't really tell which side is the longest side, the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. Okay? So, I'm just going to plug these in. There we go. And I'm just following the formulas that we just wrote down. If you do it right, cosecant, secant, and cotangent will be reciprocals of sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay? And, whoops, I just realized I switched these two. For some reason, they have secant up here first. So this one is, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. There we go. Okay, assume that theta is an acute angle in a right triangle satisfying the given condition. Evaluate the remaining trig functions. All right, so I have cosine of theta equals 4 over 9. So, if this is my triangle, this is my opposite side, my adjacent side, my hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. That means my adjacent side is 4 and my hypotenuse is 9. Okay? So, I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find my third side. So I used a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and I plugged everything in. 16 plus b squared equals 81. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. And I've got b squared equals 65. When I take the square root, 65, if you do the factor tree, this is 5 times 13. So I can't reduce this as a radical anymore. This is as reduced as it gets. So 65 is my opposite side. Now that I have all 3 sides, I can find the remaining trig functions. There we go. Now, these answers are in simplified form. But the other 2, Math Excel will want you to rationalize your denominator. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by root 65. And I'm left with 9 root 65 over 65. I'm going to do the same thing for cotangent. There we go. All right. Okay, evaluate, oh, that's me. There we go. Evaluate cosecant of 2 pi over 3 using a calculator. Give an exact value, not an approximate answer. Okay, let's pull out our calculators. Clear them. If you guys remember, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So, actually, before I pull out the calculator, this is the same thing as 1 over sine of this. Okay, so this is what we're going to want to type in the calculator. Okay, now first thing, notice that my angle is given in radians. That means you need to go to mode, make sure your calculator is in radians. If this was sine of 60 degrees or 50 degrees or something like that, you would want it to be in degrees. Okay, very, very important. You will get the problem wrong if your calculator is in the wrong mode. Okay? So I've got 1 divided by sine of 2 pi over 3. Oop, you know what? Actually, that should be fine. There we go. So, however, they want me to simplify my answer, including any radicals, use integers or fractions for any numbers in the expression. Okay, so I'll show you guys a little trick here. So this is what I have. If you were to square this, notice that I get 1.3 repeating. Now, if you guys remember, 3 repeating is 1/3. So this is like 1 1/3, or 4 over 3. So my answer to this is actually the square root of 4 over 3, because if I take the square root of this, here I'll show you. The square root of 4 over 3 gives me my original answer. Okay, and that's because I squared it to get this. So I can take this, the square root of 4 is 2, and I'm left with root 3 on the bottom. I'm going to rationalize the denominator by multiplying top and bottom by root 3. And now I've got 2 root 3 over 3. And that is my answer. Okay, so that's how you convert a long decimal into something like this. All right. Use a calculator to find the approximate value of an expression. Round the answer to 2 decimal places. Okay. So I've got tangent of 3 pi over 14. Okay. So round to 2 decimal places, this is going to be, excuse me, 0.80. Okay, use the right triangle and the given information to solve the triangle. I have A equals 3, beta equals, oops, sorry, that was alpha. This A equals 3, beta equals 63 degrees, and I know this is a right angle, so I need to find alpha, B, and C. Okay, first thing I know that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if this is 90, and this is 63, then my third angle has to be, let's go down here, 27 degrees, because 90 plus 63 plus 27 gives me 180. Another way you could do it, if you subtract 90 minus 63, you'll get 27. Okay, so let's solve for the other two. I'm going to make beta my angle. That means B is opposite. So if B is opposite and A is 3, I'm going to use tangent. Tangent of 63 degrees is beta over 3. Okay, so if you put this in your calculator, now notice that 63 is in degrees. That means you need to go to mode and put it in degree form. So I've got tangent of 63. Oh no. There we go. And I get this. I already forgot the decimal. 962610. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And that will give me my B. There you go. and they want you to round to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to have 5.89. Okay, now we're going to do something similar to find C. So I'm going to use cosine. Cosine of 63 is adjacent over hypotenuse. Pull out my calculator again. Cosine of 63. There we go. Okay, so I'm actually going to do two steps at once. I found cosine, and also if I multiply both sides by C, I'm going to get this big long decimal times C equals 3. So now I'm going to divide both sides by the big long decimal. And I'll show you another trick with your calculators. Okay, so leave this here. If you do 3 divided by, you're going to use this little yellow answer. Second answer. This will put the whole decimal in there. There we go. So, C is approximately 6.61. All right, and that's all the notes for today.